AITA for not accommodating someone because she never spoke up. I, F, recently went out with a few friends and some of their friends. Eventually we were discussing where to get food. I suggested a few places like pizza, Chinese, sushi, Korean, etc. People gave opinions, like they weren't feeling XYZ or they have certain allergies. This one girl, Abby, never spoke up, even when I specifically asked her. I didn't know her well, but wanted to include her, but she would just mumble and not give a definitive answer. Eventually, we settled on Korean food. There were few people in the group who weren't too familiar with the food, so I explained the menu. Everyone seemed to enjoy the food, and I thought that was that. Towards the end of the meal, Abby started whining about the food. She didn't like this. She didn't like that. She was unfamiliar with the food. She couldn't even choose the restaurant. Few people reminded her that I specifically asked her where she wanted to eat, and it was a group consensus. Just for the record, I'm an introvert, but can be very opinionated and can speak up for myself. I asked Abby why she didn't speak up earlier, and she responded she didn't want to upset anyone. My tone turned harsher and said, "Well, you could have said something earlier, instead of whining and causing a scene now. Why bring it up at the end of it if you didn't want to cause trouble?" Abby's face turned red as she got up, paid, and left. AITA for embarrassing her. Next story. AITA for telling my mill that I will not allow her to call herself Mama to my baby. Me, 24F, and my boyfriend 25M just had our first baby in July. My Mael has made us agree to take her on a date every week to see her grandchild. We really don't like to because she is extremely controlling and annoying, but she's not mean, so it's hard to have an excuse to say no. We went over the other day and she was talking about how she went shopping and brought up that she finally figured out what she wanted her grandma name to be. She settled on Mama, insert first letter of her name. She was so excited about this. I immediately looked at my BF and asked if he was okay with that, and he said yes and asked why it was a big deal. I said it was confusing for a child to call two women Mama, and I am the Mama, so she can't be something else. BF says, "You have just as weird of a name that's similar to Grandma. It's Fifi. It's unique and different, and I chose it since it's a reference to a beloved movie to me, and somewhat similar to my mom's first name, which means a lot to me." I don't think it was weird, and nowhere near being confusing. She told me that she has called herself Mama ever since she raised her kids, and that it's not weird, and she really loves this. I told her to choose something different, because my mom would probably also want to use a version of Mama if it was allowed. My BF said I was overreacting, but whenever I asked if it was my mom who wanted to call herself Mama, would you let her? He said absolutely no. Long story short, I said over my dead body would she be referred to as Mama, and I would stop going over here for visits if this was the hill she was going to die on. I told her to find a way different grandma name, and it cannot include the word mom, mama, or anything of the like. My BF is mad because I am being hateful about something she's entitled to pick. She very rarely goes against what I say, but said she would just bring it up with the baby once they were older anyway. I said that there was no way, because I'd stop going over there before I allowed my kid to be confused over who their mama is. AITA for putting my foot down. Next story. AITA if I only take one child to an amusement park and not the one that everyone else favorites. 29F. Have two nephews, CM, 10M, and CK, 9M, that my mother, their grandmother, 51F, has custody of, we'll call her SR. CM gets favorited by their grandma and can do no wrong in her eyes, and is neurotypical, while CK is autistic and is often left behind and can do no right in her eyes.